man who sits there and listens to any of the shit society tells him is going to be fucking miserable. No woman wants a 50-50 relationship. No woman wants that. A woman wants a man she respects enough to hand authority over to. That's what they want. They don't want no 50-50. If you're genuinely thinking, I need to keep my woman happy, it needs to be 50-50. If you believe in this shit, you're in for a wild ride, friend. Because it ends badly, 1,000% of the time, because it's a feminine-led imperative. It's not good for a man to act in any way the way society tells him. So don't believe it.
So I had a guy, I'm going to keep it private who he was, but he was, he's verified. He's actually a very well-known celebrity dude. And he was hitting me up on Twitter for advice on girls. He had a problem with his girl, whatever. And he was explaining his situation about how his girl still talks to his ex, and he told her not to, and she won't stop, and all this shit. And I told him what to do, and he didn't listen to me. He said he didn't listen because he was afraid to lose her, just like you said. Yes. And they split up. But my answer to this was this. I said, look, you sit there and you say, I'm not going to go out with a girl who's texting her ex. So you either go out with me or you text him. You're not doing both. That's the choice. Now, if she and I explained to him, if she chooses him, then she's obviously going to fuck him sooner or later anyway. Like, all you're doing is accelerating the process. If you said, I'm going to leave you if you don't stop, and she said leave, then how many weeks do you think it's going to be until she sucks his dick? It's not hard. Now, my point is this. But by shocking her and offering her an instant attention takeaway, even if she walks out, never text her, never reply to her, completely ignore her unless she apologizes, then you might shock her system into getting what you want. So yeah, it's a risk because she might leave you, but is it really a risk if the outcome of her banging him is certain anyway? It's just accelerating the process for a chance at victory. So I use this with the chess analogy. I say, if you're in a losing position and you're definitely going to lose, and you can see that if you sacrifice your queen, there's a hope of victory, even if it's unlikely. Do you want to sit there and keep your queen on the board and slowly get ground down and lose? Or you want to sacrifice your queen? It may not work, but you were going to lose eventually anyway. But it might work, and you pull off the most brilliant move in history. And this is my point, especially with relationships. Guys are so afraid of losing the girl that they never take that risk. I've done that exact situation countless times. And sometimes I've lost the girl. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I've lost the girl. But sometimes when I didn't lose the girl, I put myself in such a position of authority. And not in a bad way, but they knew not to fuck with me on such a level. People say to me, oh, Tate, your girl does whatever you want. She knows you have other girls. She never leaves you. How? It's like, because she's tried to test me. And I stuck to my guns to such a point that she knows now. So I can give you old stories, whatever, but I had an argument with this girl. We were out, she was at my house. She was at my house for like 3 days. I said, can you make me a coffee? I'm working. She goes, why would I make you a coffee? I said, for 3 days you've been in my house. We've been out eating. I've taken you out. I'm now doing a bit of work. I've paid 2 meal bills. You're sitting in my house. I'd like a coffee. Is it a problem to make me a coffee? Yeah, because you told me to. So, all right, if you're not going to make me a coffee, then just leave. Fine, I'll go. All right, bye. Are you serious? Kicking me out of our coffee? I said, no, it's not about kicking you out of our coffee. It's about the fact that I looked after you for days. I'm sitting here now working. You're doing nothing. I think it'd be polite if you made me a coffee. It's not a big deal. I didn't complain when I paid that £200 dinner. If you don't want to make me a coffee, then you're not the kind of girl I want to be with. Just leave. So she got in a mood. She got her stuff and left. Yeah? So the reason I pulled that move, most people think, Tate, you're being petty. But I pulled that move because otherwise, if she said no and I accepted it, what tone am I setting for the relationship?
Yes.
How am I saying? So I had to lay it down. I said coffee. You said no. I said yes. You want to? Then get out. 2 days, 3 days, 4 days pass. Are you done being silly yet? Then she tries to pretend I'm being silly. So listen, I'm telling you now, I'm not going to be with a woman who's refused to do such a small thing for me. The kind of guy I am and the life I'm going to give you, the quality of man I am, and the kind of respect I have for myself. If you refuse to do something that small for me, I don't want to be with you. So you can stop texting me now if making me a coffee is a problem. Anyway, a few texts later, blah, 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 blah. A couple days later, she comes to my house, and the first thing she does is make me a coffee. I said, you're not coming to my house, so she comes straight in the door and make the coffee. She goes, okay. Walked in, made the coffee. Left it, I didn't even drink it. But I won my exchange. But the whole point of it was I sacrificed my queen. I risked losing her forever. Most men are not prepared to do that. I risked losing her because I would never take her back without the coffee. But it's risk versus reward, isn't it? Look what I pulled off. Next time I say coffee, do you think she thought about it, or do you think she got up and fucking made it? And this is the point. Most men don't take that risk. And this is why I say in the PhD course, you got to be talking to so many girls that you're prepared to lose one. Because I'm not going to be in a relationship unless I'm in charge. Because if we're walking down the street and someone comes up and tries to take her handbag, I'm the guy who has to get stabbed to protect her. But she doesn't want to make me a fucking coffee. That's not a fair exchange. So I have to be in charge. That's how it's going to go. So if I have to make those big risk moves for the big rewards, I'm going to be that guy. That's how I'm going to be. So that's what a lot of it is. You have to look at life like that. I mean, a lot of people are, like you're saying, especially with girls, the fear of loss prevents them from really laying their shit down. I'm not saying you have to be a psycho. I'm not saying you have to be like that. You got to be fair and honest. You have to have certain boundaries that you won't break on. And she has to see it.
If you're a force of nature, which every man should be, every man in his own right should be a force of nature. If you're genuinely a force of nature and you come into a woman's life, you blow her mind. You have all the masculine energy she ever going to need. Where will she ever look at you and go, I'd rather hang around with this dude? Why?
Right.
There's a deficit there. A lot of these problems I don't ever have, ever.
Yeah.
And that's because, I fulfill their masculine void completely. That's my job as a man, and that's your job as a man. If your woman's truly, I want to hang around with 30 dudes. Something wrong. It's weird. It's not normal.
Well, these men are taught that it's wrong. Like when I say my girl has no male friends, they think, oh, you're a psycho, you must control her. I was like, no, she knows that she has the choice of being with me or having male friends. And she made her choice. So she doesn't have any. Because I'm not going to have a girl surrounded by dudes. Because that's my call. If you want to have male friends, that's fine. But you're not going to have me. So make a fucking decision. So I don't know why people think I'm the crazy one for sticking by my principles. And they're like, oh, how come you and your girl always get along? Because she ain't have a bunch of dudes in her ear trying to split us up. That's why we get along. That's why it's fine. Because I'm the one she talks to, me and my brother, and a bunch of other girls, and there's no dude in her ear saying, I'll be better to you, I can do better than all that shit that men put up with. They wonder why their life's so fucked up. But they're so afraid to do what I did with the risk versus reward. You have to be able to call a bluff. Trump said it. Trump said in his book, Art of the Deal, you have to know when to walk away from the table.
Yeah.
You gotta be able to do it. Most dudes never do it to a chick. You know what? The number of hot girls who I've dumped who hit me up years later. Years! And it's because they can't get over in their mind the one guy who dumped me, the one guy who didn't give in, the one guy who didn't care is that Tate fuck. That Tate guy. He's the only guy who didn't give a shit about me. Every other guy gives me what I want. Why didn't he give me what I want? And then they think, I've got to try again to get him to give in. And they end up coming back. Because women aren't even familiar with this. Women don't even go. Most hot girls have never had a dude bang. Ever. No, hot girls don't get kicked out over coffins. So when I did that to her, her brain fried. She couldn't believe it. She thought, oh, your personality, you're a psycho, you're this. Trying to think of every reason why I'd kick her out over a coffee. And eventually it clicked. And she's like, you know what? I should have just made the coffee in the first place. So I told you. Eventually she's right in her head.